there everyone, happy Sunday. I'm having a little bit of trouble hopping on live here, so hopefully it doesn't cut out. If it does cut out, I'll just start a new stream and we'll kind of pick up where we left off. So today I'm going to be chatting about microbiota, or specifically gut bacteria, and also I'm going to be chatting about the microbes involved and how that affects weight or obesity, and I'm also going to specifically be talking about how it affects pregnancy and also infants. So first of all, when we're thinking about the different terminology, so microbe is sort of the individual organism, and then microbiota makes up the microbes of our body, and we're actually 90% microorganisms and only 10% human cells. So we have a lot of microorganisms, and they have a lot of effect on everything that's happening in our body. So it affects our hormones, it helps us make vitamins. There's some new research coming out how it has a sort of a gut-brain axis. It can affect our mood. And so we really want to keep our gut bacteria and our body bacterias happy and healthy, and we want to have the good types rather than the bad types, and we actually want to have a large diversity of different microbiota. The microbiome is the genes that affect what microbiota we have, and so we don't have entire control over this, but our genes actually affect also what microbiota we have. But we do have a big influence on our microbiota. So when we're thinking about the microbiota or our bacteria, you can kind of think of a house with renters in it. So we can have good renters in our house, and so they're clean, they help out doing the cooking, they take out the garbage, so they're good. You want to fill your house with good renters. The bad bacteria, which I'm actually experiencing right now in one of our student rentals, they're very dirty, they're loud, they disrupt the neighbors, they do damage to the house, they don't take the garbage out, they don't provide a benefit, they don't pay their rent. And so those are the bad bacteria. So we want to try to feed the good bacteria. So probiotics would be supplementing our microbiota with those good bacteria. Prebiotics is feeding those good bacteria. So in order to get more of the good bacteria, we want to be able to feed them with prebiotics. So prebiotics is really insoluble fibers, and that comes from a lot of vegetables and fruit, and sort of a healthy unprocessed diet really helps these good bacteria thrive. So in relation to weight, we have a few different types, but two important sort of microbes that we have firmicutes, which are the bad bacteria. They're sort of known as the obese bacteria. And then we have bacteriodetes, which are the better ones. Those are good ones. And so if we have a diet that is high in processed foods, and we don't have a lot of vegetables and fruit and insoluble fiber, we tend to inhabit more of the firmicutes, the bad bacteria. And this tends to cause inflammation and what we call gut dysbiosis. And it's a very complicated mechanism, but what happens is we can actually absorb more calories when we're eating food. So if we have a higher amount of the firmicutes, we can actually absorb up to 10% more calories than if we have more of the bacteriodetes. So this is one of the reasons why weight really isn't as simple as calories in, calories out, and it not only has to do with how much we're eating, but definitely the quality of food that we're eating. So when we are thinking about pregnancy and infants, when we have a baby growing inside the placenta, it's really protected from a lot of it's a very sterile environment for the most part. And when the mother's water breaks, that's when it really becomes exposed to this microbiota of the mother for the first time. And so again, if we go back to thinking about the rental property, so when we first we have a new property and we open up all the rooms, we want to get good good renters in or good tenants in right away. And so we want it to be exposed to the mother's healthy microbiota. So it's really important what the mother's eating, and also it can help to have a natural vaginal birth, and so that the baby is exposed to all those microbes first thing. Those are the first ones that it's exposed to. If for some reason the baby has to be born by C-section, and absolutely C-section can be a life-saving intervention that's necessary, then it's going to be the air in the operating room is going to be more of the first microbes that the baby is exposed to, and that's going to take on as its first to develop its sort of flora, its first microbiota. So if a baby does have to be born by C-section, there are things that we can do. So we get it also from the mother, but also through skin-to-skin contact. So when you hear they recommend that they give the baby to the mother right away and have that skin-to-skin contact, the baby's also getting some microbiota from the skin-to-skin contact, and then also breast milk. So breast milk has lots of these microbes, and it does show that, let's say a baby has to be born by C-section, if the baby can be breastfed for as long as possible, for especially after the research was done after a year, that actually the gut microbiota can be replenished through breastfeeding. So lots of those healthy microbes in the breast milk. And the formula companies know this, and so now they're starting to add probiotics into formula, but they're still not able to replicate it as well as the breast milk. All right, I have a question coming in here. So what are foods that you can feed your baby to get a healthy gut? So Lexi's asking this. And so for babies, we actually don't want to feed them any food initially. We want to do exclusive breastfeeding if possible, because this is going to have the microbes in it. So as long as we can, ideally for the first year, we want to be, for the first 6 months, exclusively breastfeeding, and then continue as long as you can to be getting those microbes in. The mother can also be taking probiotics and having a healthy diet to try to get the best microbes in her to pass along to the baby as well. And there are, if you're concerned about it, there are probiotics that you can give to your baby. So the one that I'm familiar with is BioGaia, but there are several different brands of sort of special baby probiotics that you'd be able to give to your baby. The two probiotics for adults that I'm familiar with, or I mean, there are lots. The name of the one that's sort of the research shows has the most benefit is called the bifidobacterium. And so when you're looking at your probiotic, you want to try and get a different strain. The research is a little bit also mixed on whether you should get refrigerated or not refrigerated. And so they used to say that you have to get the one that's refrigerated because the other strains wouldn't be active anymore. However, now I believe that they're making some that are able to stay at a room temperature, but you would want to make sure that on the bottle it said no refrigeration required. The one that I think I have, what do I hear? I'm taking the progressive one, and so it has 70 billion active cells, and it includes a few strains of the bifido one. And the other one that I really like, and I don't receive any benefit from this, is BioK. So when I was pregnant, and I was taking, my first pregnancy, I didn't know about this at all, and probably this is too much information, but I kept on having repeated yeast infections with my first pregnancy until the end. I finally started taking BioK, and I didn't even need a treatment, cleared it right up. With my second pregnancy, I was a little bit more proactive, and I had the BioK every second day, and I didn't have any problems with that pregnancy. So because I noticed a difference in my body and I know that it worked, I really do trust BioK. And they also have one for kids, so they have Kid BioK. And they have it in dairy, but they also have it that if someone isn't tolerant to dairy or they have a dairy allergy, they have one that's in soy or rice, a rice-based one as well. So good question. So so the other thing that is a concern is antibiotics. So when we take an antibiotic, it really wipes out all of our gut microbiota. So we're starting again almost from scratch. And so if someone has to take antibiotics, it's a really good idea to get a good quality probiotic at the same time and get in there and inhabit those sort of rental spaces with the good probiotics right off the bat. And especially this can be true if pregnant women they have to take antibiotics because they have the strain for their pregnancy at the end around their labor, so you'd want to be taking probiotics with that as well. Okay, I think there's another question here. So is there any research that supports the idea of eating placenta, and is it beneficial for the mother or the baby's gut microflora? Okay, great question again. So in terms of the placenta, there is some people that like to eat the placenta, and it is very high in nutrients, so it's high in iron, and it would have its own gut microflora. However, I think doulas and there's some other services that will put it in capsules so that it's not as if you're like cutting up and eating a placenta. But I don't believe that, that this has to be done, and all of the nutrients that are placenta we can get from other places. So if you're not comfortable with eating your placenta, you don't have to. However, it is nutritious, and if you would like to do that, there are services that will make sure that it's put in capsules and done safely for you. So hopefully that answered your question. Okay, I don't see any other questions here. And I think I've covered all of the examples. The other thing that we can eat so this wouldn't be in pregnancy, but the other thing that we can do to sort of as a natural probiotic is lots of fermented foods. And each of the fermented foods, so there's like kimchi, or you've got your kombucha or sauerkraut, or kefir, and all of these foods have different strains of those healthy bacteria, so it's good to try to include a variety of those as well. Okay, and all right, so yeah, I think that I have covered all of the questions here. So I hope everyone found that helpful and that you have a happy Sunday. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave it in the comments below and I will answer them. Okay, bye!